So, now that my team is done with the community brawl and we got the Rise of the Commanders underway, I feel like I get a decent sense for which commanders are what tier of competitiveness. You know, just like they do in League of Legends, and just like in other MOBAs, list is subject to change. So this is more like a current one at 6th of June 2018. I will also add timestamps for specific commanders, but I suggest you still watch the whole thing and see. Now, mind you, I'm gonna split this video into tier 5 and tier 8 and above under high tiers, because at tier 8 a lot of commanders get their secondary abilities and major upgrades are unlocked, really changing the way the game is played. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about commanders which are good with what tier. So for tier 5, first, the low tier, aka there's no point in picking these commanders no matter what tier they are, which are Alexander, Boudica, Hasdrubal, and these commanders are here because at tier 5 either their units are just so outclassed or their roles are just simply better done by other commanders. So, well, let's talk about the next tier, tier 5 mid-tier. Kanane, which is here because slingers are just better at tier 5, and slingers do not get a barrage. I should mention though, in some maps you might want to pick Kanane instead because of the archers. So next up we've got Scipio, Sulla, and Hannibal. These commanders can be very good in certain compositions, but in general they do not get picked for either the same reason as the last ones, or they simply do not synergize well with the rest of the team. Now let's talk about tier 5 high tier. This tier is where you'll see a lot of generals, but in their specific roles. Their use really depends on the player skill and unit setup, as well as the team strategy, but this is what I've seen so far. Caesar, which I main, so the reason he is here, because while Vici or Viki at this tier, it is basically useless, but Veni is quite useful, and his great versatility, whether he plays javelins or infantry, makes him a very useful commander, and we have used that to a great extent. We used light artillery, infantry, everything was great. So we also have got Germanicus, Arminius, and Leonidas in this tier for the aforementioned reasons. There's not much to say about them. So tier 5, top tier, god tier, or whatever you want to call it. These guys are basically the ones you will see in almost every battle because they're either incredibly versatile or just very strong at an important role that they do, which are Miltiades, which comes as a surprise, to me at least, for slingers. That is because he gives slingers an unprecedented mobility while his spears get trashed by any sort infantry, so stick with slingers and maybe spears on mid to high tier as like a supplement. Vercingetorix, on the other hand, his Scorched Earth is great, making the enemy move from a position, support your melee fights, but also his Defiance and Iron Discipline combo straight up outclasses Scipio in his tier. Not to mention the offense bonuses it gives, makes this general a top tier commander. So sometimes you will see him exchange with like Arminius, but as I said, the top tier and the high tier really kind of depends. This is just my observation. Next up, we have the high commander tier, so stick around next week because I want to get this high tier tournament done to get a better sense for the high tier commanders. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.